The blonde beauty of Hollywood's golden age, Jayne Mansfield was renowned for her glitzy way of life and alluring on-screen persona. However, beyond the glamour and allure was a life full of heartache and unforeseen hardships. 5 young children had to adjust to life without their famous mother when her untimely death at the age of 34 rocked the entertainment business. How did her family handle the loss, and what caused her premature death? We're learning more about Jayne Mansfield and her legacy, from her quick ascent to the eerie last minutes of her life. Come along as we explore the victories and setbacks of this iconic celebrity. More than meets the eye. During her years of stardom in the 1950s and 1960s, Jayne Mansfield significantly influenced the entertainment business. Since she was a young girl, the American singer, actress, and performer has aspired to be famous. On April 19, 1933, she was born Vera Jane Palmer in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. Jayne became interested in music because her father was a lawyer who later became a musician. At 7, she started playing the violin and taking ballroom dance classes at 12. She's intelligent. Jayne Mansfield took aback many individuals. She was brilliant and talented. The IQ of the actress was 163, the same as that of Albert Einstein. Additionally, she was fluent in 5 languages: Italian, German, Spanish, French, and English. A vacation to remember. Jayne's career as an actor was shaped by her journey to Hollywood with her mother, a former schoolteacher, when she was 13. Together, the mother and daughter went to the Hollywood Brown Derby. At the Derby, Jayne asked for the autograph of one of her favorite national radio personalities. She realized that she aspired to be just like him. Jayne hoped to become so well known that people would eventually approach her to get her autograph. Paul and Jayne meet. In 1949, at 16, Jayne met Paul Mansfield, her future husband, at a Christmas party. Paul and Jayne were both well liked at Highland Park High School in Dallas. When Jayne was 17 and Paul was 20, their love swiftly developed, and they were married in May 1950. Jayne gave birth to her first child, Jane Marie Mansfield, just 6 months after marriage. The couple enrolled at Southern Methodist University to study acting shortly after Jane Marie was born. Miss California, Jayne Mansfield. Mansfield briefly left her husband and daughter in 1951 to attend the University of California, Los Angeles School of Theater, Film, and Television for a summer semester. Jayne concealed her marital status and competed in the Miss California pageant as a student. As expected, she won the local round, but Paul quickly learned of it and was not pleased. He compelled her to step down from the contest and leave the competition entirely. Making ends meet at the University of Texas. After leaving UCLA in 1952, Jayne returned to Austin to live with her spouse and child. After that, she enrolled at the University of Texas to study dramatics. Mansfield worked several part-time jobs to help pay for the costs of being a mother and a college student. She was a dancing studio receptionist, a door-to-door book salesperson, and an art model. As a UT student, she also joined Curtain Club, a well-known campus theater club. A new life in Georgia. Jayne's life took a significant turn just as she was starting to settle in at the University of Texas. In 1952, Paul was drafted into the U.S. Army Reserve for the Korean War. The family was compelled to relocate to Georgia, where Paul would attend the U.S. Army Training Center at Camp Gordon for a year. While in Georgia, Jayne participated in a small local theater production of the 1934 musical Anything Goes. Dallas Institute of the Performing Arts. After her time in Georgia ended in 1953, Jayne returned to Dallas, Texas. At that point, Jayne started studying under renowned actor Baruch Lumet. Lumet founded Dallas's Institute of the Performing Arts and was the father of director Sidney Lumet. Jayne made her first significant appearance at the Knox Street Theater during that period in a staging of Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman. Mansfield attracted the attention of Paramount Pictures, who wanted to try her out because of her outstanding performance. Time for the audition. Jayne tried out for Warner Brothers and Paramount Pictures in April 1954. Lumet coached Mansfield on a Joan of Arc performance sketch to assist her in preparing for these auditions. Casting director Milton Lewis advised the actress that she was squandering her evident talents after the audition went wonderfully well. A week later, Mansfield was given another chance to try out, and she chose to do the piano scene from The 7-Year Itch. Jayne concluded that dyeing her brunette hair platinum blonde would increase her chances of success after this performance didn't go as planned. Moving to Los Angeles. In the meantime, Paul came home from his reserve duty after Mansfield was trying out. Paul decided to relocate his family to the City of Dreams, Los Angeles, California, after realizing how far his wife had come in her acting profession and that parenthood had not deterred her drive. The Mansfields and Jayne's pets, a Great Dane, 3 cats, 2 Chihuahuas, a poodle, and a rabbit, moved into the small apartment in Van Nuys, Los Angeles. Mansfield goes blonde. When Mansfield first arrived in Los Angeles, she drastically altered her appearance. When Jayne had her hair bleached platinum blonde, she joined Marilyn Monroe, Betty Grable, and Mamie Van Doren as early blonde bombshells. Due to her curvy figure, light hair, and alleged lack of intelligence, she fit the traditional caricature. Although the blonde bombshell cliché was very popular in the 1950s, it has been perpetuated ever since. Mansfield would become renowned as the Montagne of the Poor. Real-life Barbie. Jayne Mansfield is well known for her stunning hourglass body. Since the public was so enamored with her sumptuous figure, her body measurements were even published in newspapers and publications. Mansfield's bust is said to have been a significant inspiration for creating vintage brasiers from the 1950s. The popularity of the bikini has also been attributed in part to Mansfield. Although slimmer bodies became a trend in the 1960s, Mansfield's body was once the talk of the town. Odd jobs. Jayne relocated to California to pursue her aspirations of becoming an actress and model, but this does not imply that she instantly rose to fame. Jayne took on several odd occupations to earn money and establish her reputation. She worked as a popcorn salesperson at the Stanley Warner Theater. In addition, she modeled for Blue Book Model Agency, took pictures for Esther Williams Trails Restaurant, and worked as a part-time dance instructor. A short career with a lasting impact. Jayne Mansfield significantly impacted society despite having a brief career of just over 10 years. Mansfield maintains her reputation thanks to her 5 devoted kids and a sizable fan base. She remains regarded as one of the most adored celebrities of her era. The entertainment industry took notice of this naturally brunette, blonde bombshell. We can all agree that her memory will endure for years to come, even though her career was brief and she passed away too young. Paul and Jayne Mansfield back in the day. You will see that legendary model Jayne Mansfield's life may have turned out differently if you study closely at this 1941 shot. This photo was taken just a year before she eloped with Paul Mansfield, age 20. Paul and Jayne fell deeply in love with one another very quickly. Regretfully, their situation ultimately didn't work out. The hectic tornado of Jayne's Hollywood career was too much for their marriage to handle. Jayne Mansfield in Playboy. One of the remarkable women who contributed to the success of Playboy magazine was Jayne Mansfield. With gorgeous playmates like Jayne Mansfield, Marilyn Monroe, and Betty Page, editor Hugh Hefner started publishing the magazine in the 1950s. When Hefner found Mansfield in February 1955, she was immediately named Playboy Playmate of the Month. Jayne's time as a Playboy contributed to her rise to fame. The stunning actress started receiving more and more offers when she was featured in Playboy. An unsuccessful marriage. According to reports, Jayne Mansfield strayed from all 3 of her husbands, including her first love, Paul Mansfield. Although Jayne and Paul filed for separation in February 1955, the divorce process was unwillingly drawn out. A year later, Paul battled for custody of their daughter, Jane Marie. Because Jayne posed nude for Playboy, he said, she was an unfit mother. Despite their formal divorce in 1958, Jayne continued to use Paul's last name. Fresh starts. The divorce was a new experience for Jayne Mansfield after many years of marriage to Paul. She was prepared to move on and bid Paul farewell. Her first goal was to provide the best possible life for her daughter, Jane Marie. After leaving Hollywood, Paul returned to Dallas, Texas. In Los Angeles, Jane Marie lived with her mother, one of the most popular poster girls of the 1950s and 1960s while she searched for some kind of normalcy. Beginning a career. Although Jayne's first marriage may have ended sooner than she had anticipated, she was lucky to have a young profession at the time. Mansfield made her cinematic debut in 1955, playing a supporting part in Female Jungle. The indie, low-budget drama Female Jungle was finished in 10 days. Jayne's manager and publicist, James Bryan, struck a 7-year deal with Warner Brothers a few weeks after the film's premiere. As a result, Jayne was cast in 2 movies. Introducing Mariska. In January 1964, Mansfield gave birth to Mariska Hargitay. Out of her 3 children with Mickey, Mariska was the youngest. If you recognize the child's name, it's because Mariska followed in her mother's footsteps and became a Hollywood actress who has won awards. Mariska's most well-known part was in the now longest-running live-action series in the United States, Law & Order Special Victims Unit. Since September 1999, Mariska has played Olivia Benson in the television series. It would have made Jayne very proud. It was traumatic for me. Mariska Hargitay, the daughter, spoke about how her mother passed away while she was pretty young. In a recent interview, she stated, "I think I learned about crisis very young, and I learned very young that happens and there are no guarantees, and we keep going. That's been kind of my superpower and the gift of having trauma early in life. I've spent the last how old am I? 57, so 54 years sort of trying to figure out what happened and why. And what am I supposed to do with it?" She went on to say that the trauma left her in a frozen place. "I was in that frozen place for a lot of my childhood, of trying to survive, actually trying to survive," she stated. Mariska miraculously survived the terrible collision that killed her mother, saying, "My life has been a process of unpeeling the layers and trusting again." She does not remember her mother's final moments or the collision itself, but she does have a zigzag scar on the side of her skull. Broadway Babe. 1955, Jayne Mansfield started filming The Burglar, a criminal thriller noir. Louis W. Kellman produced the picture, a film adaptation of David Goodis's novel directed by Paul Windkos. Kellman continued by asserting that he was the one who found Mansfield. Jayne also agreed to play Rita Marlowe in the Broadway version of Will's success Spoil Rock Hunter in New York while filming The Burglar. 2 weeks after learning she would be in the show, Warner Brothers fired Mansfield. Making the most out of her time at Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers ended their collaboration after Jayne Mansfield agreed to the Broadway production. Even though her tenure there was brief, Jayne was content to savor every moment she spent at the famed film studios. Jayne would spend her days attracting the attention of all the men by strutting around the Warner Brothers grounds. She also cherished using the studio garden for picnics. She is pictured here at the studio interacting with her cute chihuahua. Movie star Jayne. 1955 was a very eventful year for Jayne Mansfield, the blonde celebrity. Despite the insane twists and turns, she somehow made the best of it. While working with Warner Brothers, Jayne secured several minor film roles. In 1955, she appeared in 3 studio-produced films, Pete Kelly's Blues, Hell on Frisco Bay, and Illegal. Despite the movie's poor box office performance, they at least assisted her in covering her expenses. Love at First Sight. Even though losing her Warner Brothers contract was a significant setback for Mansfield, she got something else that year, and it wasn't simply indie film jobs. Mansfield first met Mickey Hargitay, who would later become her second husband, in May 1956. Hargitay was part of the chorus line for Mae West's show when the pair first met in the Latin Quarter nightclub in New York City. Professional bodybuilder Hargitay was the winner of the 1955 Mr. Universe contest. Broadway and 20th Century Fox. Jayne signed a 6-year contract with 20th Century Fox in May 1956, the same month Mansfield fell in love with Hargitay. However, Jayne continued to perform Will's success Spoil Rock Hunter on Broadway under a contract with 20th Century Fox. In September of that year, she made her final appearance on Broadway. Both the public and critics praised Jayne's performance in the Broadway production. For it, she won a Golden Globe and a Theatre World Award. Jayne's first big role. Jayne chose to accept her first-ever major part as Jerry Jordan in the 1956 Frank Tashlin film The Girl Can't Help It when her Broadway contract expired. The picture became one of the most popular ones of the year, both critically and commercially. After that, Fox started marketing Mansfield as their poster girl, calling her Marilyn Monroe king-sized, with the goal that she would complete her 6-year contract with them. Mansfield also got a big part in NBC's The Bachelor later that year. Loving the attention. You might have to sacrifice some privacy to become one of Hollywood's most famous celebrities. It's hardly surprising that Mansfield sought to get as much attention as possible because she had one of the biggest desires for fame in the business. She always allowed paparazzi to get into her house and her life. Mansfield was featured in over 2,500 media photos by the end of 1961. Additionally, between September 1956 and May 1957, around 122,000 lines of newspaper text were produced about her. 1957, The Wayward Bus and British TV. For Mansfield, 1957 was again another hectic yet prosperous year. She was cast in a prominent role in the play The Wayward Bus, which was adapted from the 1947 book by John Steinbeck. Mansfield received another Golden Globe for her outstanding performance in the film. By this time, Jayne was also performing on a British television network where she played the violin, played the piano, and recited Shakespearean passages. But that was only the start of Mansfield. Time to tour. Jayne Mansfield was cast in the 1957 Frank Tashlin version of Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter because she had devoted so many hours to the role of Rita Marlowe. Soon after, Fox sent Mansfield on her most spectacular tour to date, which consisted of a 16-country tour of Europe and a 40-day tour of North America. During the tour, Mansfield went to see the movie's London premiere. She also had the privilege of meeting Queen Elizabeth II, to which Mansfield said, "You are so beautiful." Her Majesty graciously responded, "So are you." Relationship goals. Jayne Mansfield had a surprise waiting for her in Los Angeles when she eventually got home after her 40-day tour. Hargitay proposed. Beautiful Jayne couldn't have had a more admirable life. After that, Hargitay made his movie debut in Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter, co-starring with Mansfield in a minor role. After that, the pair became one of Hollywood's most well-liked couples. Their startling performances garnered media attention as they traveled around the United States. Hargitay made broad circles around Mansfield's waist in one performance. Baby Number 2. In 1957, Mansfield secured her second leading part in the movie Kiss Them For Me, one of 20th Century Fox's final attempts to promote the blonde bombshell as an actress. The film ultimately failed at the box office. Still, the studio offered her another prominent role in The Sheriff of Fractured Jaw, which proved to be Mansfield's final Hollywood gig. Because she was expecting her second child, she turned down the opportunity to appear in Bell, Book and Candle from Columbia Pictures. Jayne Mansfield's second wedding. In January 1958, Jayne Mansfield married Mickey Hargitay, just a few days after her divorce from Paul was formally finalized. They exchanged vows at the Wayfarers Chapel in Rancho Palos Verdes, California. Because the chapel was made entirely of glass, it was simple for photographers to take images of the stunning bride. Mansfield's stunningly pink, sequin-encrusted, skin-tight bridal gown defied several necessary wedding regulations. It was created by a costume designer from 20th Century Fox. The time Mansfield almost performed in the Academy Awards. One of Mansfield's most notable performances was at the 1958 Academy Awards. Jayne was supposed to play live with an orchestra at the 31st Annual Academy Awards, but the act was eventually canceled to save time. However, because the awards ceremony concluded roughly 20 minutes early, Jerry MC had to find something to do with the extra time. We could have seen Mansfield play the violin if the show had occurred. Power couple on screen. In practically every Italian film Mansfield ever starred in, including Promises, L'Amore Primitivo, and The Loves of Hercules, Mickey Hargitay was her co-conspirator. Jayne was always with Hargitay when he was on screen. Most of Jayne's well-known nightclub acts, including the Tropicana Holiday and the House of Love, included Hargitay as the star. The pair's appearances on TV programs like the Bob Hope Christmas specials also made them well known. Business couple. Mansfield and Hargitay maintained several joint business holdings throughout the day while they weren't busy doing feats together on stage. They oversaw Eastland Savings and Loan, Jayne Mansfield Productions, and the Hargitay Exercise Equipment Company. Additionally, this power couple co-wrote Jayne Mansfield's autobiographical novel Wild Wild Word. Photographs in black and white on glossy paper filled 32 book pages. Around this period, Jayne has also begun appearing on television. Baby Zoltan. Mickey Hargitay and Jayne Mansfield welcomed their baby on August 1, 1960. His given name was Zoltan Anthony Hargitay. Based on the picture below, it's easy to assume that the Hargitay-Mansfield family was cute. Despite their hectic work schedule and past romantic relationships, Jayne did an excellent job maintaining a contemporary family. Jayne raised children from two separate fathers and kept a steady relationship with Mickey. But as time went on, several unexpected turns emerged. A new and dramatic Jayne Mansfield. Among Jayne's most famous TV appearances were on episodes of Kraft Mystery Theater, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, The Red Skelton Hour, and Burke's Law. Her career took off after she appeared in a 1962 episode of Follow the Sun, dubbed the beginning of a new and dramatic Jayne Mansfield. The amount she was earning per episode was $20,000 or $177,000 in 2019. For a few TV appearances, not too terrible. Wardrobe malfunctions. Because of her infamous PR stunts and wardrobe malfunctions, Mansfield was well known for frequently hitting the news. Her clothes always seemed to strategically and abruptly rupture at the seams. The notoriously short dress Jayne wore to supper at the upscale Beverly Hills Romanoff's restaurant stands out among her most remembered ensembles. Paramount Pictures celebrated to welcome Sophia Loren, an Italian actress, to Hollywood. Sophia Loren appears dissatisfied with Mansfield's choice of attire. Getting the media's attention. Mansfield's wardrobe malfunction wasn't the first time it happened, including at the Beverly Hills Romanoff dinner. Jayne consciously chose to wear a red bikini that was significantly too tight for her curvy figure at an event in Silver Springs, Florida, to promote her upcoming movie, Underwater. When Mansfield plunged headfirst into the water, her top ultimately came off, sending the crowd into a frenzy. Mansfield wore a dress to a nightclub and movie party shortly after the Silver Springs event, but it kept falling to her waist. Setback in career. Unlike her time with Warner Brothers, Jayne Mansfield could complete her contract with the Hollywood studio 20th Century Fox. The contract ended in 1962, which was unfortunate for Mansfield because the studio chose not to extend its collaboration with her. As a result of 20th Century Fox's decision, Mansfield was forced out of her job and back into the tangle of Hollywood. She had to take immediate action to save her career. In the end, Mansfield turned to appearing on game shows. Controversial star. As she got older, Jayne Mansfield started making appearances in various shows. Her fashion choices, however, continued to be bold and daring. Her completely topless appearance at a Mardi Gras celebration in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, is one of her most unforgettable antics. In 1962, Mansfield wore a cute polka dot outfit to a nightclub in Rome. Mansfield became one of the most talked-about celebrities of the decade within 3 years after her Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter debut. A difficult marriage. The media quickly denounced Mansfield's valiant stunts at that moment. When her marriage to Mickey Hargitay started to fall apart, she emerged as one of Hollywood's most contentious celebrities. Mansfield's relationship with Italian producer and production manager Enrico Bomba was widely reported. Just a year later, Mansfield had another affair with Nelson Sardelli, a well-known singer. Just before Mansfield discovered she was expecting Mickey's kid in 1963, Mickey decided he had had enough and filed for divorce. Censored content. It's vital to remember that Jayne Mansfield was always one to push the boundaries at every turn during her brief career, in case watching this video didn't lead you to this conclusion already. Mansfield's role in the 1963 movie Promises, Promises served as further evidence of this. Because Mansfield was essentially nude for the duration of the film, fans waited in line to see the production. The movie was subsequently banned everywhere after being deemed to contain obscene material. Unwed mother. It was unfortunate for Mansfield and Hargitay that Jayne found out she was expecting their third child a few days after Mickey filed for divorce. Jayne and Mickey declared that they would stay married because being an unwed mother would have severely hampered her career. In a 1964 romantic comedy, Kiss Me Stupid, Mansfield was selected over several other actresses to play the recently departed Marilyn Monroe role. Actress Kim Novak accepted the job after Mansfield declined due to her pregnancy. Husband number 3. Mickey and Jayne's divorce was formalized and publicized in August 1964, a year after Mariska was born. After a court struggle, Hargitay was declared the guardian of their 3 children, but the children remained in Los Angeles with their mother. Mansfield already had a new man in September 1964, a month after the divorce. She wed the Italian-American filmmaker Matt Cimber. Hargitay starred in the theatrical production Bus Stop, where the two first met. Cimber not only married Jayne, but also took on the role of career manager. Tony Cimber. Given Mansfield's history, you would not be overly surprised by this, but Jayne and Matt's marriage did not last. Although little is known about their year-long connection, one positive outcome is inevitable. Jayne and Matt welcomed a kid into the world in 1965, a few months before they decided to divorce. Although they called him Antonio Rafael Ottaviano, Tony Cimber is his more well-known name. Matt would raise Tony with Christy Hilliard Hannick, his third wife. Jayne gets a divorce for the third time. It was not long until Cimber and Mansfield's marriage ended, just like Jayne's prior unions. Cimber learned about Jayne's open infidelities and substance usage. Jayne also told Cimber she was only pleased with Nelson Sardelli, her ex-lover. In July 1965, 10 months after the wedding, Cimber and Mansfield called it quits. Mansfield spent the entire year investigating the possibility of pursuing a music career. An unexpected collab. Some people might be surprised by this one. Jimi Hendrix, a legendary figure in rock and roll, played bass on a couple of Mansfield's tracks. Hendrix contributed guitar and bass to 2 Mansfield tracks, As the Cloud Drifts By and Suey. London Records released both songs as 45 RPM singles. According to historian and Hendrix aficionado Stephen Roby, this unexpected partnership happened because Mansfield and Hendrix had the same music management. In addition to her work with Hendrix, Mansfield sang in German on the song Wo ist der Mann? A woman of many talents. Despite having a shorter career than other celebrities, Mansfield demonstrated versatility throughout her 15-year career. Mansfield played various instruments, including the violin and piano, recorded her music, and was a talented actress. She appeared on several shows, such as The Jackie Gleason Show, The Steve Allen Show, and The Jack Benny Program. She also played violin in a 6-piece backup band while appearing on The Ed Sullivan Show. Saying no to Gilligan's Island. In 1964, Mansfield was offered to play Ginger Grant on the sitcom Gilligan's Island. Following 7 castaways as they tried to survive on a stranded island following a shipwreck, the upcoming series chronicled their adventures. In the end, Jayne declined the role. She believed it embodied the precise stereotype she wanted to break free from. She was sick of being referred to as that dumb blonde. Tina Louise, who would later become incredibly famous for her portrayal of Ginger Grant, was cast in the role. Sultan vs. Lion. In November 1966, Jayne Mansfield made headlines once more. This time, it was surprising to hear about her son, Zoltan, rather than her. Zoltan gained notoriety when he and his mother were at Jungleland, USA in Thousand Oaks, California, when a lion savagely attacked him. Zoltan was just 6 at the time, poor guy. His sliced left cheek, internal bleeding, and fractured skull necessitated surgery. Thankfully, Zoltan recovered and went on to become a prosperous actor. First Western movie. Mansfield was primarily cast in high-profile film roles by Cimber during their marriage. He cast Mansfield in the 1966 film Single Room Furnished, which required Jayne to portray 3 distinct roles simultaneously. Following the completion of Single Room Furnished, Jayne joined Ferlin Husky and Mamie Van Doren in the low-budget comedy The Las Vegas Hillbillies. Mansfield's first Western was The Las Vegas Hillbillies. She embarked on a 29-day tour across the United States to promote the movie. Drive-ins answer to Marilyn Monroe. Jayne Mansfield had one requirement before the Las Vegas Hillbillies started filming. She would not be seen with Mamie Van Doren. Indeed, she stated unequivocally that she would not share any screen time with the drive-in's answer to Marilyn Monroe. Although Mansfield and Van Doren did appear together in one scene, they shot their roles independently to be spliced in with the picture. After the birth of Tony, her 5th child, Mansfield still had trouble concealing her baby weight during the filming. Toxic relationship. Jayne had been going through a tough time in her life at that same time. She frequently found herself performing at low-budget burlesque shows, got involved in club fights, and struggled with significant substance misuse. Mansfield had moved in with Sam Brody, her lawyer-turned-boyfriend, by July 1966. The connection between the two was somewhat poisonous. In addition to being married, Brody also fought physically with Mansfield and her oldest daughter. After discovering the affair, Sam's wife Beverly filed for divorce. It seems that Mansfield cursed Brody while hanging out with Anton LaVey, a well-known Satanist. This might seem strange to believers. Sleeping with the devil. This is not the end of Jayne's dating history. According to LaVey's daughter, Carla, the friendship between Satanist Anton LaVey and Jayne Mansfield developed into a sexual relationship. Mansfield first encountered the infamous Anton LaVey, the leader of the Church of Satan, back in 1966. After this incident garnered media attention, Mansfield was accused of being a practicing Satanist. Many people questioned whether this was just a PR gimmick, but LaVey's daughter affirmed that it wasn't. Mansfield's untimely death in 1967 abruptly ended their relationship. German paparazzo Walter Fischer documented intimate episodes of their lives and included them in the book California Infernal, offering a rare window into their unusual bond. Fisher's perspective tells this fascinating story of the Hollywood blonde and the Satanist, providing readers with a fascinating look at this extraordinary pair. Back to her roots. Jayne Mansfield never ventured too far from a stage of some sort, no matter where her life led her. In 1966, the beautiful actress was going through a slump in her Hollywood career. She decided to return her focus to the theater at that point. After Mansfield concluded a performance in a play of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, this endearing backstage photo was taken. Following an outstanding performance, Mansfield's ex-husband, Mickey Hargitay, surprised her backstage by bringing roses to congratulate her. Last hurrah. This article clarifies that Mansfield's career was frequently hampered by her private life and publicity antics. Nevertheless, Mansfield undoubtedly maintained her position as one of the most prosperous superstars of the 1960s, despite her repeated defeats. Early in 1967, Mansfield played in her final role. She co-starred with Robert Morse and Inger Stevens in the Gene Kelly-directed comedy Guide for the Married Man, where she briefly appeared. Mansfield was unintentionally named as one of the technical advisors in the movie's opening credits. A trip to Biloxi. On June 28, 1967, Mansfield and Brody took 3 of her children, Miklos, Zoltan, and Mariska, on a delightful vacation to Biloxi, Mississippi. Mansfield had been scheduled to play at the local nightclub that evening. On the evening of June 28th, Mansfield played at the Gus Stevens Supper Club. She felt it was time to leave for New Orleans, Louisiana, as soon as the show ended. On June 29th, she is slated to appear on television in New Orleans. The accident. Following Mansfield's performance at the club, it was time to leave. Mansfield, the kids, and Sam Brody had been offered a ride by Ronald B. Harrison, a nightclub driver. The group drove off in a Buick Electra from 1966. Harrison arrived at a dark section of the road just a few hours into the drive because a device emitted a dense fog to ward off insects. Harrison struck a truck from behind at that point. Mansfield, Brody, and Harrison were instantaneously killed in the crash. The The children luckily made it through with only minor wounds. The chilling and horrific details from the crash. Wild stories about Jayne's body began to circulate after the incident, and graphic images of the fatal scene were circulated. When a picture of the scene revealed Jayne's trademark blonde wig pressed against the wreckage's dashboard, people began to suspect that the celebrity had been beheaded in the incident. But the reality was quite different. The funeral bureau, however, refuted the rumors, stating, "They believed it severed her head, but it didn't. I know she wasn't because I embalmed her." A crushed skull was discovered during Mansfield's autopsy. Her wig, thrown out in the confusion of the crash, was partially responsible for the hair on the windshield. An admirer purchased Jayne's Buick and kept it immaculately in his garage for years, making it a fascinating object. The car's seats still bore bloodstains from that terrible night. The vehicle brought $8,000 at auction in 1999. A successful star. Jayne Mansfield lost her life in a car accident while she was just 34 years old. But if you look back at her hectic career, you can see that she accomplished a lot and significantly impacted the globe. Mansfield remained one of Hollywood's greatest idols until the middle of the 1980s. In 1980, CBS aired The Jayne Mansfield Story, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger as Hargitay and Lonnie Anderson. A&E narrated her life story in the 1999 television series Dangerous Curves. Leaving her palace behind. Mansfield left behind her stunning home, known as the Pink Palace after her signature color, as well as her 5 children. After purchasing the estate in 1957, Jayne renovated it to fit her aesthetic. Her entire house was painted pink, including the lights, the walls, and the bathroom, which included a lovely heart-shaped bathtub and pink fur. The gorgeous heart-shaped pool on the property was constructed by Hargitay, a carpenter and plumber, before he became involved in bodybuilding. Following Jayne's passing, several well-known people, including Engelbert Humperdinck and Ringo Starr, sold and owned the Pink Palace. However, Humperdinck sold it to a person in 2002 who ultimately demolished it.
If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon